So the question, why do people get attracted to fake gurus and cannot realize the genuine ones, is because in this world there is one primary law, and this law is the law of frequency, the law of resonance. We cannot manifest in our lives something that we are not. If that frequency is not in us, we're living the life of delusion, the life of limitation, the life of distortions and karmic baggage. And that's why the teachers that we'll be attracted to, the teachers that will fascinate us, are the teachers of our delusion, the teachers of our limitation. And the same thing will apply to our relationships. A lot of people wish to have true relationships, they wish to have genuine connections, and yet they have no connection within themselves. They have no deeper perception and understanding of their true self. So how would they recognize that frequency in the other? We can know something to the depth we know ourselves only. And so when we are connected to our delusion and propel this delusion in our life, all we can know of spirituality is the spirituality of delusion, the spirituality of ignorance, the spirituality of our fantasies, the spirituality of our hallucinations, the spirituality of our imbalance, whether mental, emotional, or spiritual. Now, when we come to the point of balance, when we come to the point of being fluid and flexible in our lives, we have a chance to recognize higher frequency within ourselves. And once we recognize this higher frequency within ourselves, we are able to recognize this higher frequency outside of ourselves. So by holding on to that higher frequency, by cultivating that higher frequency within ourselves, we can understand the essence of the spiritual path, the spiritual teachings, which is not the external form of the teaching, but which is the internal transmission of the self, the connection which appears in our life and which we cultivate within. And that's why we can finally resonate with the highly evolved beings which could potentially become our teachers. But to be actually open to this kind of frequency is not enough, because there has to be deep cultivation of gratitude, deep cultivation of encompassing inner love that cannot be just, created, or I just want to be like that. No, it has to be the result of that awakening to the higher frequency within that pushes one to perceive that inner gratitude to life, to the existence, and to cultivate it for a while, to live through this gratitude even through trials and turbulations of life, so that one comes to the stable point where one can not only recognize true teaching and true teachers, but can also be stable on the path, can cultivate this frequency so that one can balance oneself and come to the point of appreciating the opportunity, appreciating higher frequency within oneself, cultivating it, and thus appreciating it from the outside. Now, from the outside is not really the outside. It is the higher frequency within that allow ones to connect to the higher frequency or the channel of this higher frequency in the human body, which would be the teacher. And so most of the people experience fake spiritual teachings and gurus and spiritual teachers only because it is a wrath of divine wrath on them, because when the being is truly connected within, they're simple, they're humble, and they're grateful in life, they will definitely have a chance to come across a true teaching. But if they cannot sustain that frequency, they will not be able to sustain the relationship with the true teacher, and will fall back into their own delusion, into their own falsehood, and will start experiencing the karmic wrath of their own delusion, because there is nobody to punish us. It's our own delusion, our own limitation manifested outwardly, manifests limited paths, delusional spiritual teachings, and delusional corrupt spiritual teachers, because the true teacher can only be felt, perceived from within, There is no logical explanation why one is connected with that teacher. Maybe the form of the teacher is not what one expects, or one never expects maybe to meet someone like a highly evolved being in certain circumstances. And meeting doesn't mean that one will recognize that highly evolved frequency. And even if one recognizes, doesn't mean that they will be able to cultivate it within, sustain it within, or appreciate it in the long term. And so very often, even if people come across something genuine, due to their own limitations, due to their own inner baggage, due to their own shadows, they sabotage these connections and they cut themselves off from the higher frequency, and they impose kind of a spiritual prison on themselves, which is called divine wrath. And this wrath comes into their life in the form of false teachers or people who abuse them, or negative relationships, etc., etc. So I hope I answered your question. Thank you very much.